From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to a Monday edition of CreatureGuide Live News. I will be having random articles thrown at me. Some will be funny and some will be more serious. So let's dive in right into the news. Starting with animals.howstuffworks.com. White's tree frog, a popular pet prone to obesity. White's tree frog has toes like suction cups that help it climb trees, glass, and other vertical surfaces. If you're thinking about frogs as gross, standoffish creatures, think again. I actually find it quite shocking when people think of that when it comes to frogs. However, there are certain venomous/poisonous frogs over in different parts of South America. That description would make sense. White's tree frog is one of the friendliest, plumpest amphibians you'll meet. Native to northern and eastern Australia. Okay, completely different species of frog. I was thinking this might have been a frog from North America. It's not. Native to northern and eastern Australia as well as southern New Guinea. This species is also called the Australian green tree frog or dumpy tree frog. So I'm guessing that this animal coexists with different species of tree kangaroo over in northeastern Australia as well as southern New Guinea.
I thought you said dumpy tree frog.
I did.
Okay.
These frogs thrive in tropical rainforests, suburban areas, and even around human homes, especially where insects are plentiful. Known scientifically as Rhinoideae caruliae, formerly Lytoriae caruliae, they've adapted to a broad range of environments thanks to their hardy skin and calm demeanor. So let's see. I need the. Okay. See, white tree frogs are known for their vivid color, often bright green or blue green in their chubby appearance. They use large sticky toe pads like suction cups. Let's see, I already said that. While they're arboreal, tree dwelling, they're also comfortable in semi terrestrial habitats with high humidity and live plants. They grow up to be about 4 inches or 10 centimeters in length and live up to 20 years in captivity. That long life combined with a laid back attitude makes them one of the most popular pet frogs in the world. Maybe they've become invasive in North America, considering it there's claiming that this is a common pet, so that's very possible. Their diet in the wild mostly consists of insects and other invertebrates, including moths, beetles, and smaller frogs. Excuse me. In captivity, they thrive on feeder insects like live crickets, waxworms, dubia roaches, and black soldier fly larvae. You have to be careful with some of these crickets you obtain from different pet shops or pet stores because some of them contain different types of diseases. So it can be dangerous to feed them to many species of exotic animals or even native animals, depending on where you are. These frogs aren't picky eaters, but overfeeding can lead to obesity, a common issue for this plump bodied species. Yep, they look pretty wide. Like most frogs, okay, anything else? I think that's it. Well, that's interesting. I do wonder though if they've become invasive over, especially like the southeastern United States. I doubt that they'll probably be breeding over in like the west or maybe even parts of Mexico, but it is possible, I'd say, in certain marsh or riparian areas. Maybe they've become invasive in certain parts of Southeast Asia since it's at least decent quality climate for them over in those regions. Maybe even parts of Africa. Oh, let's head over to the next article. Okay, so from 9news.com, thousands of tarantulas are searching for love in Colorado. As the tarantulas look for a mate in southern Colorado, Visit La Junta will host the La Junta Tarantula Fest on Friday and Saturday. Finding a mate is risky business this time of year for the Colorado brown tarantulas that populate southeastern Colorado. In the late summer, thousands of male tarantulas scour the plains for a mate, provided they can safely cross the roads that valley. I believe this is also possibly adjacent to the Arkansas River, which also flows through Oklahoma. Colorado Parks and Wildlife said the breeding expedition happens every year in areas around La Junta and the Comanche National Grassland. It's not a migration, but just a quest for romance. I don't know exactly how this specific species of tarantula works when it comes to mating, considering certain spiders, the female eats the male. So I wouldn't call this romance. The male tarantulas live just a short time after reaching sexual maturity at age 8, hence their eager search for a mate. The National Park Service said males can travel as many as 20 miles in search of a mature female, and that is what is occurring during the tarantula migration.
What,
Females,
8 years old?
I'd have to double check that, but that's what it's claiming.
And it's saying it's also the end of their life.
Seems that way. Females are larger than males and reach maturity between 8 and 10 years. According to the National Park Service, it is not uncommon for females to live more than 20 years. Once females make their burrows, they tend to stick close to them for their entirety of their lives. Males rarely live 1 year past maturity and usually die during or shortly after migration because they are killed by vehicles while crossing the roads or they become the victim of predators like tarantula hawk wasps, coyotes, or even female tarantulas. I'm guessing that the tarantula hawk wasp will um, somewhat tranquilize the tarantula and then lay its eggs inside of the tarantula, and then the young of the wasp will virtually hatch inside the tarantula and they eat it alive.
That just creeps me out. It sounds like a movie.
Yeah, that's harsh reality. They're going to be dead by Christmas. Once they wander and mate and it gets cold, they don't make it. At least the males. The tarantula can attain a body length of up to whatever species this is, 2 inches and a leg span of up to 5 inches. Despite their large size and fearsome reputation, tarantulas pose little hazard to humans. Think I have to check, depending on the species. I haven't gone over many species of spiders in a while. Let's see. Hmm. I take that with a grain of salt when it says poses little hazard. Comanche National Grassland, the country's fourth largest grassland with more than 440,000 acres of shortgrass prairie and canyonlands. So this is over in eastern Colorado. It's pretty much nothing but plains. Is a special home for Colorado brown tarantulas. Okay, this species. Nearby La Junta will host its annual Tarantula Fest on February or Friday, September 26th and Saturday, September 27th. Okay, so it's already occurred. Where visitors to the grassland can catch a glimpse of the fuzzy arachnids. I hope that's not all that, you come there to see. Hopefully, like, there's, mule deer, pronghorn in the region, something, because as much as I respect the arachnid family, I'm not traveling to a festival to see some, tarantulas migrating. I mean, if it's along with a majority of other animals, yeah, sure, it's a nice addition, but not as
Wouldn't they be getting trampled by the other animals?
um, yeah, probably. Americans are weirder about spiders than pretty much any place on the planet? By a long shot? Maybe. There are many critters over in North America. I think, some might think it would be Australia with the spider, especially like the whole, bird eating spider stereotype. But the truth is that there's many more species in North America and many more deadly species too. So, same thing goes for most animals. Okay, let's move on to the next article. From buckrail.com, grizzly cubs captured, relocated near Cody. So this is over in Wyoming. Fourth incident this season. Wow, really? Still with the same family? So this was taken on June 2024. I'm guessing this is probably in some part of the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem, which Cody is pretty much adjacent to. It's just, believe east of the ecosystem, like towards Yellowstone National Park. Two grizzly bear cubs, one male, one female, were captured and relocated to an area outside of Cody on September 21st, according to an announcement by the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. After consulting with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, WGFD captured the two juvenile bears on private land after they had been frequenting a residence. Multiple hazing efforts did not change the bears' behavior. In coordination with FWS in the Shoshone National Forest, the bears were relocated to the Clarks Fork River drainage, about 26 miles northwest of Cody. I've heard of this region. This is the fourth bear relocation incident of this season that has taken place near the Shoshone National Forest. Okay, so it's adjacent to Yellowstone National Park, but it's just east of it when it comes to the Shoshone National Forest. Technically, Yellowstone National Park is bordered all around by different national forests, especially the Caribou Targhee National Forest over in southeastern Idaho. According to WGFD, grizzlies are relocated to prevent conflicts between bears and humans. Um, Sometimes some of these relocations, I guess not. I'm not thinking relocation. I'm thinking of um, calling or euthanization efforts. Like, let's say they robbed a trash can and they end up getting euthanized or killed. And other
Why for
incidents,
robbing a trash can?
yeah, I don't really agree with that. Um, yeah, that's the big one. Let's see. So, well, then there's whole, livestock depredation, but sometimes it's even doesn't make any sense occasionally for that. WGFD stresses. Okay. Uh, well, too bad they didn't show like a picture of them releasing the cubs, or that was annoying. But interesting. Okay, well, let's move on to the next article. Okay, so let's see what this newspaper is going to give us because it's given some of the weirdest stories when it comes to Cowboy State Daily. Incredible display of strength. Grizzly pulls elk from Yellowstone mud hole. Okay, so in a scene one Yellowstone employee said was unlike anything she's ever seen, grizzlies were fighting each other over an elk stuck in a mud hole. Finally, one bear used its brute strength to pull the massive carcass out. Oh, okay. Wow. These are really good pictures. It's definitely a male, and yeah, he's pulling out a bull elk. Oh, was he alive? Or is he just stuck in time? Bull elk that was trapped in a mud hole pond was euthanized by Yellowstone Rangers to end its hopeless struggle. I guess because of how common elk are in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, they just decided to put it down. I think elsewhere, just regular people would help pull it out. Anyway,
Well, the
then
bear pulled it out.
yeah, but I mean, so it could still live, rather than adding to its winter fat storage. Then, after winning the carcass from competition, a big bear put on an awesome display of power by dragging the adult elk from the mud. So let's see. Julie Argyle, the postmaster at Lake Village in the park, witnessed such a scene earlier this month. Majestic bull elk was hopelessly trapped in a muddy pond, slowly dying from exhaustion until Yellowstone Rangers decided to end its suffering. Then, days later, several grizzlies battled each other over the carcass until a big Bruin used its brute strength to drag the elk out of the mud. Argyle said it was a scene unlike anything she's ever witnessed in Yellowstone. I think it's not really that impressive that a male grizzly bear pulled a bull elk out of the mud. Now, maybe the mud added a lot of weight to it, possibly, but it's just that when you watch animals like tigers pull over, 3,500 pound Indian gar, and this is coming from a cat that weighs somewhere around 650 pounds, compared to uh, uh, bull brown bear that probably weighs somewhere around 750 to 800 pounds, pulling what, a 1,200 pound animal. I mean, it's cool that he did. I'm just saying I'm going to give the tiger, a more of an applaud. Let's see. So, I've seen some pretty incredible things in the park, but that's the first time I've ever seen an animal stuck in the mud like that. The saga unfolded at a spot Argyle called Saga. Saga? No Moose Pond in the eastern half of Yellowstone. It's a spot where she isn't accustomed to seeing any large animals, and now she knows why. It has some water in it, but usually you only see birds there. In all my times coming here, I've only seen a bear there once. It stood in the grass on the edge of the pond and took a drink when the water was close to the edge. Argyle got word that a bull elk was stuck in the pond on the morning of September 8th. People driving by that morning alerted her, assuming it must have gotten stuck overnight. Argyle ventured to the pond and saw the elk that was stuck. It was near the grassy edge, but trapped in a layer of mud so deep that it was almost completely submerged. Given that a bull elk can be as tall as 5 feet at the shoulder, it seemed clear that the elk wasn't going anywhere. You could tell that it could still use its front legs a little bit. It would lift on its front legs a little bit, but its back end never moved. Every time it used its front legs to try and get out, its back would sink further in. The elk stayed stuck all day and overnight. When Argyle returned the next morning, it had barely moved. You could tell it had been struggling to get out, but it had moved maybe 6 inches in all that time. Everyone who was there knew that there was no way that animal was going to get out. Oh, is there footage of it pulling well, it's already dead. Okay, so I think this is before they euthanized it? Okay, so that's after he was dead. Yeah, it could be that the mud's creating a lot of, pressure, but also the thing is tigers oh, yeah, suction, yeah, definitely. Tigers and bears, they're built completely different. So whereas the tiger's meant for grappling and, um a little more precision on the bite. A bear has much more strength when it comes to also pushing things or wrestling, whereas tigers are not really meant for that. So, yeah, a bear could definitely push over, a boulder about the size of the Indian guard that I was talking about with, well, I'd say definitely a lot more effort than like the weight of the elk. But the thing is that it just shows they're built completely different. So let's see. Yellowstone Rangers were alerted to the elk in the mud and assessed the situation. After over 24 hours, they made the difficult decision to intervene. They humanely put it down. They decided to end its suffering. Okay. I guess this is what it. It was killed on September 9th. So it was there for about a day. And okay. Well, I'm glad that the grizzly got some meat and he'll have more weight to put on for his upcoming hibernation. He's still going to be foraging for some time. I mean, definitely he's going to be packing on the pounds with berries, maybe even, white bark pine nuts in different parts of the park. Okay, so let's go to the next one. From dailygalaxy.com, world's oldest intact reptile skin found in ancient cave. This fossil is older than the dinosaurs. Let's see, what do we have here? Fragment of ancient reptile skin discovered in Oklahoma cave is changing what scientists know about early life on land. Dated to nearly 300 million years ago, so that's during the beginning of the Permian, this fossilized skin is now considered the oldest ever found, surpassing the previous record by over 21 million years. Researchers from the University of Toronto led the study published in Current Biology, which identifies the skin as a critical piece of evidence of how early vertebrates adapted to life outside water. The fossil was unearthed from the Richard Spur limestone cave system in Oklahoma, a site already famous for its Paleozoic era fossils. What makes this location so exceptional is its preservation environment. Low oxygen levels, fine clay sediment, and ongoing petroleum seepage from nearby shale. These conditions help shield even fragile, um, soft tissue, such as skin, from decay over hundreds of millions of years. According to, so let's see, the cave acted like a natural time capsule. This cave system was also an active oil seepage site during the Permian, and interactions between hydrocarbons and petroleum and tar are likely what allowed the skin to be preserved. The area was once filled with tar and oil from the Woodford Shale, effectively saturating fossils and creating a protective layer that prevented microbial activity. Hmm, that's interesting.
So it's saying the oil stops it from decaying.
Yeah, I guess it's, like, similar to, like, the La Brea tar pits over in California where they help preserve, I think there have been certain specimens, like, of Ice Age animals or, certain Columbian mammoths, saber-toothed cats, or dire wolves, short-faced bears with preserved fur or skin. Let's see. The fossilized skin fragment is so tiny that it could have been mistaken for a scrap of nothing. Collected in 2018, the piece sat quietly among other finds from the Richard Spur cave system in Oklahoma. At first glance, it looked like a sliver of bone, but under the microscope, things got interesting fast. Fine scale bands and hinge like regions appeared, features that help modern reptiles stretch and move as they grow. What makes this fossil extraordinary isn't just its age, but what survived. Both the epidermis and the dermis, the outer and inner layers of skin, are intact. That kind of preservation is almost unheard of in the fossil record. It opens a rare window into how early land vertebrates adapted their bodies to life beyond the water. No bones are found along the skin, so scientists can't say for sure what creature it came from. But they have a strong lead. Most likely candidate is Captorinus agouti, a small lizard-like reptile with a distinct overbite. Its fossils dominate the Richard Spur site, making it the best match for this ancient patch of skin. Oh, okay. Okay, this looks definitely more reptilian. Wow. For back in the Permian, this is really good. In fact, I'm not sure if I've ever heard of no, I think I've heard of distinct preserved skin from the Permian. I was forgetting about like Dimetrodon and the other reptiles or synapsids, amphibians from the region. Presence of such well-preserved skin allows researchers to better understand how amniotes adapted to dry environments. The epidermis was a critical feature for vertebrate survival on land. It's a crucial barrier between the internal body processes and the harsh outer environment. The fossil's resemblance to modern reptile skin, specifically its scaly texture and flexible joints. According to paleontologist Phil Bell, who was not involved in the study, this supports the theory that the complex structure of reptile skulls has gone virtually unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. That looks pretty identical to certain reptiles of today. So let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, that was it. Okay, well, it's good to know we found some more preserved Permian reptile skin. So let's move to the next article. Okay, so from sfgate.com, let's see. Squirrel that sent two Bay Area residents to ER was likely raised by humans. Sounds like he had rabies. Okay, this is not a joke. More than five people have been attacked by a very mean squirrel over the past few days on Diablo Circle and Mount Lassen. Several have gone to ER for severe lacerations. This squirrel comes out of nowhere and will attack humans and faces and leave bite marks.
This just sounded funny to me, that's why I put it up.
Attack squirrel, beware. The aggressive squirrel that caused a ruckus in San Rafael, biting people and sending at least two residents to the emergency room, was likely raised by humans, according to wildlife experts. Flyers were posted in the Lucas Valley neighborhood earlier this month after a very mean squirrel reportedly attacked people in the area of Mount Lassen Drive and Mount Diablo Circle. This squirrel comes out of nowhere and will attack. At least two people need to seek emergency medical assistance due to bites from the animal. Joanne Black told the outlet that she was on a walk in the neighborhood when the squirrel clawed at her and bit her legs, leaving her with wounds concerning enough to warrant a visit to the ER. I don't know how they would be able to distinguish that it was raised by humans. Some like one with possibly some disease or virus. Isabel Campoy was attacked, presumably by the same squirrel, while walking in the area with her niece. Squirrel went from the Squirrel went from the floor, tried to jump up to my face. I tried to protect my face. My arm was completely overcome by squirrel. Finally, it jumped off, but then I was full of blood. I run to the emergency room. That's funny.
Where's the video?
Yeah. According to Allison Hermance, Director of Communications at the San Rafael Wildlife Rescue Center, Wild Care, the squirrel was almost certainly raised by humans as a baby. How would you know this? His problem is he doesn't know why some people feed him and other people do not. And so he's desperate, he's scary, he's hungry. Um, I don't know. This sounds like there's something wrong with him. He's used to being fed by
You
people.
fed a lot of squirrels.
Uh,
Have you ever seen that happen?
no. He's used to being fed by people, and so he is approaching people, and unfortunately, when they don't have food for him and they react with fear, he reacts with desperation, and that is what has caused these injuries. It's actually a really sad situation. Usually, even if, people are scared of the squirrel, they run off too. He has a problem. Staff at Wild Care have encountered similar situations with squirrels before, Herman said. The center is currently experiencing a flood of squirrels. And when baby squirrels fall from their nests, oh yeah, that incident. In trees or bushes, humans sometimes take their care into their own hands, but this often spells disaster. Okay, so let's see. Squirrel that attacked people in Lucas Valley has not been seen by neighbors recently and has likely died. Um,
Well, that probably means what?
oh yeah, maybe rabies finally got him. Usually when an animal
Well,
is
they're not saying the person got rabies.
no, 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 I was just referring to the squirrel.
No, I know, but
Now we don't know the time frame, but um yeah, anyway, kinda feel bad for the squirrel and, the people that's it's funny and unfortunate. So let's move to the next article. So let's see, from Earth.com. Lost world of Arctic animals from 75,000 years ago has been discovered in a cave. So this is back to the late Pleistocene or, the Ice Age. Coastal Arctic cave in northern Norway has turned up an Ice Age animal community. Feels both familiar and foreign. The bones point to an Arctic coast with birds, fish, and mammals living side by side about 75,000 years ago. The team of scientists responsible for the find cataloged 46 species from a single cave, and they showed this was the earliest known animal community in the European Arctic during a warmer Ice Age pulse. Dr. Sam Walker of Bournemouth University and the University of Oslo led the work. His team excavated Arne Grotto in 2021 and 2022, carefully sieving sediments for bone fragments.
I can't pronounce that word either.
Walrus, bowhead whale, and polar bear anchor the marine side, while rock, ptarmigan, Atlantic puffin, and common eider speak for the birds. If this is mainland northern Norway, you're not gonna have any polar bears. You'll find them over in the island of Svalbard, but not northern Norway. Now, I'm guessing they might make rare occurrences, but, usually don't see them there. Walrus are also pretty rare. Let's see, freshwater marine fish, including Atlantic cod and Arctic char. Round out the picture, our lemmings, of course, the lemmings, appears in the mix, which is striking because it has not been known from Scandinavia before. Really? Thought they were just always there. The single line in the species list changes what we thought we knew about small mammals in the north. Hold on a second. Are these no, these aren't what are found in the cave, are they? Fauna points to a coast with open tundra nearby, freshwater lakes or rivers. I think I'm just describing northern Norway. Hold on, let's keep moving. Oh, wait, hold on. Scientists place this window in marine isotope stage, MIS, oh, okay, 5A, a warmer interval of the last glacial cycle between roughly 85,000 71,000 years ago. Um, let's see. MIS is a climate framework based on oxygen isotopes that tracks swings between warm and cold periods. The dating comes from a blend of methods, including radiocarbon limits, luminescence on cave sands, uranium thorium on cave minerals, and genetic clocks on a subset of bones. Each method has blind spots, so using several reduces the chance of a misread. Yeah, I mean, having all of these resources helps with the dating. Let's take a look. The location of the Stor's Tinola cave system in Kahopspik village. I need to, yeah, work on that. In the, municipality of Narvik, Nordland, Norway, shown on a map of Fennoscandia and surrounding countries. The black line represents the Arctic Circle. Photo of the profile in Arne Famgrota post excavation with a 1 meter scale. And let's see, drawing of the full profile in Arne Famgrota. Bone bearing layers are colored in yellow and orange. Okay. And then where the darker coloration indicates higher bone frequency. So here or here? I can barely read this though. Okay, most bones are tiny and shattered, which limits what experts can identify by eye. Actually, this happens a lot more than people think when it comes to finding the bones of different animals, especially if you're looking at different species of prehistoric mammals, mammoths, bears, or you're even going back to certain species of dinosaurs. This actually happens a lot with different species of predatory dinosaurs where there's only fragments of the bone and they can be classified as a distinct species. The team solved that by mixing comparative osteology with meta barcoding, a DNA method that pulls short genetic tags from many fragments at once to identify the species list. They also reconstructed a few mitogenome sequences to.
Okay, I picked this because I thought we were gonna hear about an animal.
Yeah, okay, we better go down. Let's see. Hmm. Uh, wait a second. So in the cave, there's a variety of birds, wide variety of seabirds, fish. Looks like even yeah. So the whales, like everybody except I don't see. Okay, there's reindeer. I don't see any moose. So, but no mammoths. Hmm. Were there any? I was really hyped. No. Oh, come on. Anyway, let's, head to the next article. That was unfortunate. There were huh? I think it was referring to just a wide variety of mostly modern, mammals, but my question is, what are bowhead whale bones doing there? Like, did a, polar bear bring them over? Because you did have polar bears on the mainland, um, 75,000 years ago. Actually, much further south. I think there was some point you could find polar bears far south as northern Italy or Switzerland, Spain, they might have been roaming. So let's see. From sfgate.com, this adorable mammal, it was supposedly doomed, but it has thrived in a national park. Of course, the pika. Let's see where this takes place. Pika makes about 14,000 trips a year to gather vegetation for the winter. Yeah, I hope. Well, kind of hope so. They frequently move throughout the day. Hay piles can weigh about 65 pounds. I mean, we're talking about an animal that weighs a few ounces, so that's pretty remarkable. Let's see. On a breezy August afternoon in Rocky Mountain National Park, so this is over just northwest of Denver. As I stepped out of the car along Trail Ridge Drive, a slope of loose angular rocks known as talus caught my attention. It looked just like the habitat I had seen in photographs of what is arguably the most adorable animal, pika. So let's see. Uh, doo, doo, doo. Oh, well, yeah, there's pika.
Just Mears, it looked like he was looking at the camera.
Yeah, I think he is. Hey. So that's in over in Yosemite. So that's in California. I got a feeling there's nothing. I think she was just reviewing her trip. That's freaky. Um, yep. Okay. So they're popular back in Rocky Mountain National Park. Well, I guess it's good to hear. think pretty much most animals over in Rocky Mountain National Park, um, have rebounded. I mean, granted, you could say, grizzly bears are still extinct there, but I think the wolves have made a possible comeback. Anyway, moving forward, from IFLscience.com at 6.2 meters, this is close to a little over 20 feet. Lolong was the largest crocodile ever recorded and captured. So here he is. Saltwater crocodile captured in Bunawan, the Philippines. Maybe they'll show another picture. So he's around 20 feet and 3 inches from snout to tail. Male saltwater crocodile was officially measured in November 2011, according to the Philippines Department of Environment and Natural Resources. This was just a few months after the animal was captured from the wild in September 2011. Croc was pursued not simply for his size, but because he was considered a threat. Authorities suspected him of involvement in at least two fatal attacks in 2009, one on a young girl and another on a fisherman, um, as well as numerous incidents of livestock predation. While it was never conclusively proven that this particular crocodile was responsible for the deaths, Wolong nevertheless bore the blame. The capture was no small feat. It reportedly took professional hunters and the local government unit 3 weeks. The efforts of 100 villagers, wow, and even a crane to extract the lumbering reptile from a marsh in Bunawan on the southern Philippine island of Mindanao. He was named in honor of a local hunter, Ernesto Lolong Canict, who died of a stroke while orchestrating the capture. Um, interesting.
So it was scaring him so much he had a stroke trying to.
Yeah. Let's see. After his capture, Lolong was taken to a nearby town and placed in a specially built pen where it consumed over 17 kilograms or 37.5 pounds of pork every 5 days. Yeah, I guess he can make it on that. It's not a lot, but I mean, he's a crocodile. He can, as long as he has a very large meal, and we're talking what, over maybe 200 pounds, he can probably go a year without really eating much. The hungry giant quickly became the town's star attraction, drawing around 500 visitors a day to the remote community of 27,000 people. When the measurement was officially logged by the Guinness World Record, Lolong swiped the title of the world's largest crocodile from an Australian croc known as Cassius Clay. Okay, I haven't heard of this. Measuring 5.48 meters or 17 feet and 11.75 inches. Wow, I didn't realize that Australian saltwater crocodiles were that small. I thought they also reached somewhere around 20 feet. So that's interesting. Now, granted, we don't know. I mean, there's what somewhere between 200 to 300,000 saltwater crocodiles in Australia. So who knows? There could be a monster out there. This colossus, captured in the 1980s, is and estimated to be over 110 years in age, died in November 2024. Unfortunately, Lolong did not live long, so to speak, in captivity. He died on February 10th, 2013, less than 2 years after being captured.
Probably because they were holding him in a pen.
Yeah, yeah, he got depressed. Oh, yeah, sure. PETA gets involved. Uh-huh. Anyway, there's another, large, old crocodile that exists today. Like, it's been around since before World War One, I think. I think it was captured back in, like, 1903. He's still alive, I think.
You know where he lives?
His name's Henry. South Africa or maybe Australia. Okay, I don't remember. Oh, okay. So, moving forward from phys.org, tiny extinct crocodiliform with unusual teeth discovered in Montana. So let's see, an artistic rendering of Thycarosuchus xenodentus. About 95 about 95 million years ago, a juvenile crocodiliform nicknamed Elton lived in what is now southwest Montana at the edge of the Western Interior Seaway. Oh, so okay, so this is towards the beginning of the late Cretaceous. Measuring no more than 2 feet long from nose to tip of tail, young Elton was about the size of a big lizard. According to, okay, so had it lived to be full grown, Elton would have measured no longer than 3 feet, far smaller than most members of the Neosuchiate clade to which it and distant relatives belong. Well, thing is that the Neosuchio clade of the crocodilomorphs is a large collection of these reptiles, and there were actually quite a few that were within the 2 to 6 foot range. So, the much larger individuals actually didn't consist of that big of a portion of Neosuchiae. Also depends on what time you're talking to. During the mid-Cretaceous, there were quite a few small species. The clade includes modern crocodilians and their closest extinct relatives, almost all of them semi-aquatic or marine carnivores with simple conical teeth. Yeah, I forget that they're still around today. So let's see. Elton, by contrast, lived on the land, probably feasting on both plants and insects or small animals with this assortment of differently shaped and specialized teeth. Also, during this time, many of the crocodilomorphs were much more terrestrial than they would have been aquatic. So, meaning that they're running around on land. Its unique anatomy reveals that it was part of a new, previously unrecognized family of crocodiliforms endemic to the Cretaceous of North America. If not for the sharp eye of Harrison Allen, Elton's ancient remains may never have been discovered. But during a dig in the summer of 2021 in the Black Leaf Geological Formation on U.S. Forest Service land near Dillon, Allen, then a student in Vervico's field paleontology course, noticed a fossil the size of the tip of his pinky with a weird texture on it. I brought it to Dr. Varicchio and knew it must be something good because he said, "Take me to where you found this." It was an exciting moment for Allen, originally from Kentucky. Okay, 4 years and hundreds of hours of studies later, he is the lead. Okay, okay, so he's done quite a bit of work on.
It's about the animal or the person.
Yeah, I think it's about the person. So apparently, he's done a lot of research on this crocodile form from the Blackleaf Formation. Thanks. After the dig, Dr. Verrocchio told me why he was so excited the day I found the initial specimen. It had so much visible anatomy to explore, and he could see it was a tiny, tiny croc skull, fully articulated and preserved. It was a special thing. We have found dinosaurs in the Black Leaf before, but this was the second known vertebrate animal we'd ever found in this formation. The extinct animal, which Allen and the paper's co-authors later named Macaracusuchus zoodentis, for its strange sheath teeth, has provided new information about the paleoecology of the blackleaf ecosystem, about patterns of evolution in the croc family tree. So, anything else? Okay, so let's see. Allen and Johnson recovered bits of bone from almost all areas of the animal's body, including its limbs, vertebrae, jaw, and 50-millimeter long skull. Because the fragments were tiny and exceptionally fragile, the students didn't attempt to physically reassemble them. Instead, they took them for a series of CT scans. This happens a lot, including some at MSU's Sub-Zero Research Laboratory. Allen estimates that he spent well over 100 hours coloring the digital 2D segment slices that the scans produced, a process necessary to visually distinguish the bones from the rocks they were embedded in. Let's see. Okay, so he said this. Wait, what about it? Allen discovered that the bones of Thycaracasuchus were densely concentrated and organized in a manner consistent with fossils of organisms found in burrows in the Blackleaf Formation and the nearby Wyand Formation in Idaho. He said this suggests that Thycaracasuchus was likely preserved within a burrow, further supporting the notion that fossils recovered from these formations are biased toward those that were preserved in burrows. Let's see. The specimen also presented clues about like Carbocasuchus' newly named family group, one Campsidae, and a similar group found in Eurasia known as Ataposauridae. Both groups were tiny and terrestrially adapted, and they shared certain cranial and dental features found in another more distantly related group from the Cretaceous of Africa and South America. Let's see. Um, okay, I think that's it with that. Glad that they found a new species of crocodilomorph and a small species over in what 95 million year old Montana, I think. So let's move to the next article. Well, this looks interesting. From wildfowl.com, Judas elk to help target Jackson Hole suburban elk, easing pressure on Yellowstone migrants. Huh? Who are the migrants? I'm guessing it's talking about either like other elk in the area or bison or mule deer, maybe certain pronghorn. We're talking the area adjacent to Grand Teton National Park or the Teton Mountain Range. Research reveals that animals that summer on ranch land in residential subdivisions near town pile up on the National Elk Refuge's southern end, a trait that will help wildlife managers steer hunters toward the problematic parks. Huh, that's nice.
Did I just pick an article on how to kill an animal?
Let's see. Three cow elk and a calf dashed across Jackson Hole roadway. Never seen the cone thing before. Usually they just people just stop for them. So in the coming months, thousands of elk will migrate onto the National Elk Refuge just outside the town of Jackson, where the Jackson elk herd winters. I believe there's around what is it? At least five different elk herds adjacent to the, or at least the Yellowstone National Park itself. So let's see. Okay, historically, they've traveled long distances from summer range in places like southern Yellowstone National Park, but so-called suburban elk that stick nearer to Jackson to feed off hayfields and residential subdivisions are increasing. It's a headache for ranchers and wildlife managers that also reduces hunting opportunities and threatens the herd's natural biodiversity. Wait, hold on a second. What's the problem? Oh, okay, they're not leaving. Well, stop feeding them. I mean, I think I was talking about this before. I really don't understand the supplemental feeding for elk over in Grand Teton. Well, specifically Elk National Wildlife Refuge.
I think this is saying and they're eating off the farmers.
Oh yeah, too. Let's see. So yeah, to best conserve long-range migration, wildlife managers would ideally concentrate hunting pressure on the refuge on the suburban elk, a task that has been nearly impossible
Hold
until
up.
now.
Did they just say hunting in the refuge? Isn't
um,
that an oxymoron?
Yeah, I don't know how that works with different national wildlife refuges, but the thing is that technically there, or at least there should be, wolves or bears eating them as well. When they're on the refuge and there's thousands of elk milling around, you can't tell just by looking at them whether they migrated 8 kilometers or 80 kilometers by a quantitative disease ecologist. So let's see. Based on this work, we can predict where conflict-prone suburban elk that get into livestock feed are going to be. So, the study was elk personality and anthropogenic or people food subsidy, managing conflict and migration loss, assists wildlife managers with tools to decipher which of the 10,000 elk, I think in some cases like up to 20,000 hit the Elk National Wildlife Refuge. It's a lot. In the herd are migrating from where? Specifically, the research could help concentrate hunting pressure on the lowland elk that summer on ranch land and amid the trophy homes of the wealthiest Americans once they reach the National Elk Refuge. Doing so could help efforts to preserve struggling migratory elk that now take the brunt of the gunfire. um, okay. Um,
This is a strange article.
yeah, I might have been okay. Even need to take some time when looking at how these migrations work because it can be quite confusing. Is this just no way? This can't be just one herd. But it's not even saying. It just says migrating animals in the Jackson elk herd. It's just one herd? Here's the Tetons. Yellowstone's up here. This is square. I'm not sure. Okay, travel an average one-way distance of 39 miles, with journeys topping out at 168 miles. By the way, when it comes to large mammal migrations, many tend to think that they take place over thousands of miles, like the wildebeest over in well, I'd say somewhere between 500 to over 1,000 miles. Like the wildebeest over in Serengeti in, Tanzania and Kenya, or the caribou over in different parts of Alaska and Canada, when in reality, many migrations of large mammals are much shorter. Even this, for some instances, can be actually kind of far. How does it work? With location data from 101 GPS-collared female elk, Cotterill used modeling to discover that the conflict-prone elk that generally live south of Grand Teton National Park were 4 times more likely to use the southernmost feeding areas in the refuge near to the town of Jackson. The single strongest predictor of which feeding area they're going to use was whether they ate livestock feed in suburban areas. That's a finding the Wyoming Game and Fish Department has a keen interest in, and it has potential to help reverse an undesirable trend that's long been afoot in the Jackson elk herd. Historically, virtually all animals that winter on the National Elk Refuge were considered long-distance migrants. Um, I swear they used to use another, more just matching term for the animals that spent summer in places like Yellowstone National Park, the Teton Wilderness, the Gros Ventre Drainage, and Northern Grand Teton National Park. So the Gros Ventre Drainage, it's a certain ecosystem within the region. It's not like sewer. Um, so by 2012, however, the proportion was less than 60%, and the suburban elk are potentially still in the process of taking over, who may actually be seeing a slight increase in those short distance migrants. Uh, no, just a bunch of footprints. Thousands of elk footprints dot a snowy slope in November 2022 at the National Elk Refuge, where part of the 10,000 strong Jackson elk herd has made its annual migration.
I still think it sounds funny they want you to come shoot them in a place they're supposed to be safe.
Yeah, but I think the bigger thing is also like the subdivisions, possibly. But anyway, the growing imbalance, he said, is related to big differences in reproductive success and calf survival. Oh, are they not having many calves? Lowland elk that lived in housing subdivisions and on ranches.
How did they get their mortgages?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. And on ranches are adding 40 or 50 calves to their ranks for every 100 cows. But the calf ratio is only about 20 per 100 for migrating elk. Wow, that's I'm guessing, yeah, better access to food, also safer from predators. So that's why they have a much higher, survival rate for the calves.
Why it's saying they're inbred. They're inbreeding so much.
Wait, was it mentioning,
Yeah, it did.
oh,
When you read that at the beginning, I heard it was, it's the biodiversity.
oh, they're not, introducing other genetics from, like, their main herd. Yeah, okay, that's not good. Yeah. Take 'em out. Wise, who's a co-author of the study, explained that come fall of 2026, the bolder elk that dwell in the refuge's southernmost feeding areas will have more of a target on their back, and it'll be because of their own kind. Using the term Judas elk to describe GPS-collared animals that will assist game and fish in pointing hunters toward the problematic suburban elk.
This is terrible.
Cracked animals, in a sense, will be attracting a source of danger, human hunters, to their herd mates. Okay, this is interesting. You might see a fall of tourism. No, you might not. Anyway, um, let's see. It's something that that's really kind of novel for this area. We have so many different elk coming from so many different summer ranges into this winter range on the refuge, and we're definitely trying to manage for certain segments and bolster those populations where we can, while still getting harvest on the segments we don't have a lot of access to anywhere else. Easing hunting pressure on the long distance migratory elk has historically proven a great challenge because the herds cut through other late season hunt areas like Grand Teton National Park. Then they're the first to arrive at the federal wildlife refuge, where hunters are waiting for them. Jackson Hole's pesky suburban elk, meanwhile, spend most of the fall in a much trickier landscape where they're hard to hunt. Then they're typically the last cohort to show up on the refuge. So this looks like it's maybe during the summer.
Are these where some of the videos that you showed me where they're hanging out in front of people's houses?
That's in Colorado for the most part, I think.
Oh,
Maybe some are also maybe we're in, like, Idaho, but I don't think any in Wyoming or Jackson Hole. A herd of at least several hundred elk in the National Elk Refuge bid farewell to the last shed hunters. Oh, a shed hunter is basically somebody going out to, certain area and picking up deer or moose or elk antlers. They're not killing anything. And you have to be careful with that because certain times, even though to a major extent, you're not really harming the ecosystem by taking a slight bit of calcium from, a squirrel or another elk or moose that might they'll munch on their own antlers, later the next year
oh,
for
explain the squirrel thing.
supplement calcium. Same thing for the squirrel. They'll also munch on the antlers for supplement calcium. But anyway, I'm just saying you have to be careful because there are different rules for when you can pick sheds and when you can't. So when anybody mentions that they're picking up sheds, they're picking up antlers or maybe, horns from a dead bison. Anyway, departing the adjacent Bridger Teton National Forest, let's see. The Judas elk will help wildlife managers point hunters toward the so-called suburban elk when they do arrive. When they cross the line, how do we get hunters to go out there? The elk will be tracked this winter as part of a broader effort to equip 150 members of the Jackson elk herd with GPS collars. They'll be programmed to transmit Finette fine scale information about their location several times a day, November through early January.
This sounds like cheating.
Yeah. Um, okay. Um, yeah, but so is feeding them, hay. So it's more than just, I wouldn't say cheating for the feeding. It's just, I just don't agree with it. And they're not uncommon, but now somehow they're having a problem due to, them inbreeding that area. But anyway, um, that might be it or not. Um, okay. Well, this was quite interesting. So, I guess, good for the next one, next article. This is also one of many different elk herds throughout North America, and then there's, another subspecies of elk over in East Asia with, different herds. Okay, so from Earth.com, unique new bat species has a strange hairless area and a tail as long as its body. Did we didn't mention this? A new bat from the western Himalayas has been described. It carries two striking traits: a bare ring around each eye and a tail that outstretches its body. The species is called the Himalayan long-tailed myotis, or Myotis himalayanthus. There's a lot of myotises, as in like different species of the genus of this bat. This bat did not simply appear out of thin air. Field teams first caught lookalikes years ago, then circled back with better tools and a sharper question about what they had seen. Rohit Chakravarty from India's Nature Conservation Foundation led key fieldwork that brought a crucial specimen to hand, and it was confirmed in a peer-reviewed study that reviewed bats across Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. His team used careful trapping at forest ponds and along flight paths to sample bats that are active high above the canopy. The new bat belongs to Myotis, a large group of insect-eating bats found on most continents. Within that genus sits the Myotis freighter complex, a cluster of look-alike species that can be hard to tell apart without precise measurements and genetics. Holotype is an adult male from Uttarakhand with a head and body length of 1.69 inches and a tail of about 1.8 inches. So 2.5 centimeters.
Is a tiny bat,
Many species of bat. I'd say most species of bats are very small. You could easily fit in the palm of your hand. Not, um, including when their wings are stretched out, though, just the main body itself. Though the tail, that tail is slightly longer than the body, and the measured mass is about 0.23 ounces. Yeah, it's a pretty lightweight bat, which helps separate it from nearby relatives. A bare patch of skin circles each eye. The skull has a short snout, the ear is short and broad, and a tiny baculum, a penis bone present in many mammals, has a unique shovel-like shape that taxonomists can recognize under a microscope.
I keep forgetting you told me that. I
Um,
didn't know they any mammal had that.
oh yeah, those distinct bones. Yeah, it is quite interesting. Scientists use an integrative approach. They combined morphology, the form and structure of the animal, with DNA data and the pattern of echolocation calls that bats use to navigate and hunt. Genetic sequences from the Uttarakhand specimen matched earlier Himalayan captures that had been labeled as lookalikes. Then the team located a matching adult female found in 1998 in the Hungarian Natural History Museum that was collected in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan. The two specimens share external traits and skull features, and that cross checks the species identity across borders. So far, records come from forested mid elevation valleys and slopes between roughly 4,900 and 7,500 feet. Habitats include oak, deodar, pine, and mixed evergreen stands that hold water sources and open flyways. This pattern fits the broader Himalayan story. The mountain arc holds lineages that look similar but diverged over time as terrain and climate isolated populations. The same review corrected the identity of India's free-tailed bat with specimen and genetic evidence. It shows that the East Asian free-tailed bat, Tydarida insignis, not the European species, occurs in India. The revision also clarified small bats in the pipistrelle group. It formally delineated Babu's pipistrelle. Pipistrellus babu as distinct from the Javan pipistrelle that lives mainly in Southeast Asia. I was thinking of Charlie Brown for a second. Integrative taxonomy,
What?
his sister, constantly called Linus. Anyway, integrative taxonomy reduces doubt by stacking lines of evidence. External measurements, tooth and skull characters, and the shape of the baculum are independent of DNA barcodes and acoustic data. When all of those agree, the case becomes strong. In this case, tail and ear proportions, skull metrics, baculum form, gene sequences, and call frequencies point to the same conclusion. Details like a hairless ring can feel minor. In taxonomy, there are markers tied to shared ancestry and development, so they help keep species boundaries clear. One feature rarely seals the deal. It is the combination of traits, including dental rows and ear shape, that sets this bat apart from its freighter complex cousins. New names are not just labels, they influence how surveys are designed, where protected areas focus effort, and how environmental impact assessments treat bat roofs and flyways. They also prompt practical steps, let's see, from training local monitors to logging acoustic call libraries that help detect rare species at night. The match with the 1998 Pakistani specimen shows the value of collections. Let's see. It is shows that this bat uses similar montane forests across national borders, which is key for any future status assessment. Oh boy, let's see. Um, okay, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad that I found a new species of bat, and I wouldn't say it's unique in its overall size, but definitely certain body structures, especially its long tail. So let's head over to the next article. So from blognature.org or the Cool Green Science. Oh, okay. So this looks like it's a mixture. Nature Conservancy. Okay, so Camera Trap Chronicles up close with snow leopards. Enjoy this footage of snow leopards from Mongolia. It includes the animal scent marking and vocalizing. Oh, hey, looks good. You curious snow leopard? Somewhere in the mountains of Mongolia. Okay, so let's see. The Nature Conservancy and partners conducted a population study of snow leopards in Mongolia from 2016 to 2022 using camera trap surveys in the Bambat and Sutai mountain ranges. They determined those ranges are really important for leopard populations. Let's see. Okay, so now Erica Anderson is building off of that data to give us a deeper understanding of snow leopards. She realized expanding her new expertise in geographic information systems from Connecticut to Mongolia's formidable mountains would be worth it for these big mysterious cats and the environmental questions they could help answer. Anderson traveled to Mongolia some summer 2025 for a research trip and is helping to connect wildlife corridors for species on the move. He's stretching. It's funny. Oh, yay. Oh, yes, very nice yawn. The snow leopards, they get to somewhere around 140 to 160 pounds. And it's a really big guess as to how many there could be. There have been more populations popping up in areas where there weren't any surveys. So there could be more than the like 8 to 10,000 there supposedly is in like Central Eastern Asia. Say Central Asia to an extent too. So my work was specifically about using GIS as a way to depict where you might find a snow leopard, particularly in the Altai or Western Mongolia. What's happening on the ground? How does it play out in reality? Want to identify snow leopard habitats and understand their behavior so we can connect it with other current research, and then model habitat suitability across the region. If we can find the ways leopards get from point A to point B through modeling and which habitat is best, we can tie that together with community-led conservation to mitigate herder-leopard conflicts. Researchers have population information, camera data from Mongolia show numbers there are growing, but we need to know where they travel and how to preserve those habitats. Plus, it helps snow leopards avoid coming into contact with herding communities, especially as livestock populations. Uh, okay, so these look like two very plump snow leopards.
Why it says herding communities, it sounds like a bunch of people.
Yeah, I think that's what it's referring to.
He was referring to livestock.
Well, yeah, just farmers. But I'm guessing this is possibly a mother and her cub. You know, they're or they're 2 siblings, but they're plump. Okay, so, let's see. Oh, yeah, I was wondering what that was.
Oh,
Um,
they change colors?
huh, ooh, a leopard? I don't think I saw any color change.
Oh, they always look whiter to me when it's snowy.
Oh, um, I don't know about that. I'm not sure if there's, much of a pigment change, like, during the winter. Definitely every single one has its own, spot, distinguishment, but I believe she or he is checking out scent. That's why you saw her or him sticking out her tongue like that.
I thought it was just thinking it was its own YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, it is a bit of a live stream. So this was taken over in 2021. Yeah, she's or maybe he's just smelling, whatever scent another leopard left behind. So let's see. This one looks like it might be calling for a mate. Yeah, definitely marking its territory. I wonder how often, like how many of these clips of snow leopards actually occur because I wonder if like these are sometimes out there for at least several months. And the question is, out of all of that footage, are these the only times that there were snow leopards? And if it is, this is truly remarkable. I mean, this is really good footage. I'd say that's probably the best looking tail of any cat.
Th those paws are just huge.
Yeah, they really help with the snow.
It's funny.
Here's a tutorial on how to mark your territory. Please follow step one above. Anyway, let's see. You're always feeling hopeful until you actually see them, but it's never a guarantee. There are over 200 cameras we've set up between 2016 and 2022, but not all of them end up capturing snow leopard footage. Their coat patterns are also really distinct, like a fingerprint. So let's see. Let's see. So camera traps pick up some bonus footage too for these. So wide variety of prey items in the region. That's a cub. That's a fat cub though. Jeez. It's like, "Hey, are we live? Oh my gosh, we're live." He's like, "I better wipe the camera lens." Okay, I think this looks good. Let's see, is that it? Okay. Okay, well, this was interesting. A wide variety of things have happened in like different parts of, especially Montana, Wyoming, and then over here in Mongolia, and then especially with that bat, and then the new crocodilomorph species. So, hope you enjoyed this stream. From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know. Because nothing is better than all animals all the